All right, so today we're diving into the third and final axis of freedom. And this one, it's a bit different. It's not about the chains out there in the world, it's about the ones we forge right inside our own heads. So let's just start with a really simple question. Who decides if you have a good day? I mean, really think about it. Is it you? Are you the one calling the shots? Because, if we're all being honest with ourselves, for a lot of us, the answer is, well, something totally outside of our control. Our mood, how we feel inside, it gets dictated by stuff we have zero say over. And that is the big problem we're going to unpack today. Okay, so this brings us to our first big idea, what we're calling the comfortable cage. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a kind of prison that doesn't have any bars or walls, but trust me, it can feel just as real. Think about these two characters. You've got the market watcher, right? His whole mood for the day is basically a puppet, and the stock ticker is pulling the strings. Then you've got the sports fan. Their entire week can be amazing or absolutely ruined just by a final score. What's the common thread here? They've both basically outsourced their happiness. They've handed the keys to their inner life over to something else. And this quote just nails it. They've tied their inner weather, I love that phrase, to things happening outside. And they call that living. But it's not freedom, is it? It's just a more comfortable cage. Still a cage. So why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we lock ourselves in these cages? Well, it really boils down to something we can call the half-knowledge problem. See, the issue is that we make these huge emotional calls based on, well, not having the full story. You've probably heard this old story about the farmer. It illustrates this perfectly. So first, his horse runs away. The neighbors are like, "Oh, that's terrible luck." But the farmer just says, "Maybe." Then the horse comes back, and it brings 3 wild horses with it. The neighbors are ecstatic. "What wonderful luck." And the farmer, "Maybe." Then his son breaks his leg trying to tame one of these horses. "Terrible luck," they say. You know the answer. "Maybe." And then the army comes to town, drafting all the young men, but they skip his son because of the broken leg. "Wonderful luck," they all shout. The farmer's response, of course, is maybe. See what he's doing? He gets that he's only seeing one tiny scene in a much, much bigger movie. And this ancient wisdom isn't just in fables. The Quran makes the exact same point. It says you might hate something that's actually good for you and love something that's bad for you. And then it hits you with the most important part. God knows while you do not know. That's the mic drop. It's not just about faith. It's about knowledge. Recognizing that our viewpoint is, well, it's limited. So much of our own suffering, our anxiety, it comes from this exact habit, stamping good or bad on things when we only have half the info. And what's amazing is that thinkers all over the world have grappled with this. The ancient Greek philosopher Pyrrho, for instance, he had a specific word for the solution. He called it a pake, and it's basically a disciplined pause, a suspension of judgment. Now, this isn't about being passive or just not caring. It's an active decision to say, you know what? I'm not going to slap a permanent label of good or bad on this right now because I don't know the whole story. It's like a superpower for your own mental peace. Okay, so this brings us to the real solution here, the way out of the cage. We're calling it freedom from outcomes. This is it. This is the third axis of freedom. And it's all about fundamentally changing how we think about the results of, well, everything we do. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. You can approach this in a couple of ways. You've got the Stoics, who kind of built a fortress around themselves. Their idea was a sort of defensive indifference. I'm only going to care about what's in my control, and I'm putting up a wall to everything else. But the Quranic approach is different. It's not a defensive wall, it's more like an open hand. It's not indifference, it's active trust, a belief in a knowing, caring intelligence. Both get you to a place of peace, but man, the feeling inside is totally different. And this idea of active trust has a name. Tawakkul. And we have to be super clear here. This is not just sitting back and saying, whatever happens, happens. It's not passive. It's the exact opposite. It's the mindset of someone who gives it their absolute all, 100% effort, and then genuinely releases the outcome, trusting that whatever happens is for the best. I love the archer analogy for this. A great archer does everything right. They practice, they aim, they focus, they control their breath. But the second that arrow leaves the bow, it's out of their hands. A gust of wind could come. Tawakkul is about pouring your soul into the aiming and then letting go of the hitting. The goal isn't to stop trying to hit the bullseye. It's to stop chaining your whole sense of self-worth to it. So to really see what this looks like when it's lived out, I mean, truly lived out over a long time, we have to look at the story of the prophet Jacob. This is a true masterclass in what it means to practice this kind of trust, not just for a bad afternoon, but for decades.
The story starts with just unimaginable pain. His own sons come to him with a bloody shirt and tell him that his beloved son, Joseph, has been killed by a wolf. Now, here's the thing. Jacob's gut tells him something is wrong. He knows they're lying, but he has no idea what the real story is. He's stuck in this awful place of not knowing.
And his response in that moment is incredible. He says he will resort to sabran jamilan, a beautiful patience. This isn't just sucking it up or being strong. It's something much more profound. It's an active, noble decision to say, I refuse to accept your version of the story as the final verdict because I trust that the real story isn't over yet.
And get this wasn't just a heat of the moment thing. Years go by. He then loses another son to the same group of brothers, and his response is exactly the same. Beautiful patience is my only recourse. It became his life's philosophy. Instead of falling into despair, which anyone would understand, he chose to lean into trust. Trust that the story wasn't finished.
And the way the story resolves is just poetic. Remember that bloody shirt at the beginning? The object that was supposed to be the final word on this tragedy? Well, decades later, when Joseph is found and he's now a powerful leader in Egypt, he sends his own shirt back to his father. And when Jacob holds it, his sight, which he'd lost from grief, is restored. The very symbol of the fake, terrible news becomes the tool for the real, miraculous good news.
Okay, so let's bring this home. Let's talk about what this means for us, for you and me, today. How do we use this to reclaim our own inner peace?
So we've been building this idea of freedom in 3 parts. First, there was freedom from appetite, basically discipline. Then, freedom from accumulation, independence from stuff. And now, today, we've hit the third, and maybe the most powerful one, freedom from your own verdicts, or as we're calling it, expectation freedom.
So let's circle all the way back to the market watcher and the sports fan. Look, it's not wrong to care about your investments. It's not wrong to be passionate about your team. That's not the problem. The problem is where they're getting the final verdict on their day from. They've basically put up a giant external scoreboard in their soul, and they let it dictate how they feel. So here's the bottom line. Real, lasting freedom comes when you anchor your stability to something that doesn't bounce around with the stock market, something that doesn't change with the final score. It's about that deep trust in a bigger picture you just can't see yet. It all comes back to that simple, profound truth. God knows while you do not know. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. Your story isn't over, not even close. The full picture is still coming into focus. So the real question is, what verdict, what final judgment are you issuing on your life today that might just be way, way too soon?